This high-grade version of Guren right here is absolutely awesome. So damn good, it is insane. Now, this is this one right here, the SEITEN. Not this one right here. This one came out in 2008. I built it maybe in 2011 or 12. Not really good. However, this one is blowing my mind. Now, to just kind of clarify this a little bit, this right here is a premium Bandai exclusive kit. It is built from the ground up, which is an absolute sin. So this is a brand new mold, all the parts are brand new for this year, and it's astounding. A few months ago, it's probably a year or more at this point, my concept of time is absolutely terrible, but I did the Lancelot Albion version, which was another incredible model kit. I'm sad I don't actually have it on hand right now to put it side by side with this. It's still in storage. I really need to get sorting that someday. But that was incredible, and this one, I'm wondering if it's even that little bit better. For me, when it came to the Nightmare frames from Code Geass, it was always the Guren that stood out to me the most. An absolute ridiculous powerhouse, and that big old arm just always blew my mind. And this finally right here is the model kit that does it justice. But once again, this is a premium Bandai kit, so it might be hard to find. I got mine through BUYEE, you can too, so if you're looking to grab one, link will be down there in the description. Now let's check this out. So when it comes to the build of the Guren, I was pleasantly surprised yet again. I should have known it was going to be awesome based off of the Lancelot Albion I built before, but still this delivers exactly what high grade should in 2023. This is a simple build, so every element on this, for example the joints and the armor, etc., it's very simple. There's no full inner frame, nothing like that. It just builds up armor, joint, only what it needs to be. And I'll also mention there is no cockpit or figure in this particular Guren right here. Everything here has been done perfectly, while at the same time very, very simple. We've got some nice, simple sliding but smart joints in the ankles, so we do have those wheel segments around in the back of the legs. The plastic in here is nice, but I will mention the super shiny gloss plastic does feel a little bit on the brittle side and can mark quite a bit, and is hard to file or clean up when you do actually snip it out. Basically, because if you file it, it's going to get a kind of a scratchy kind of look on it, and I do recommend something like Gun Primer's tools in order to make sure that this stays glossy, because you can get the white balancer, which will make sure this stays glossy. There are a couple of stickers in the build, but none of these are very critical. For the most part, we've just got some inside of the chest for highlighting the green clear segments in the chest. We've got some for on the eyes, but I will mention the eyes are color separated underneath, so you don't actually have to use these if you do not want to. It's just they're more reflecty than the actual plastic would be. One of the absolute highlights of building this kit is the fact that the arms are asymmetrical, so you don't have to build the same arm twice, just mirrored. It is so different, in fact. The standard left arm is very, very simple. We've got a bit of a bicep that gives me some flashbacks of Epion to some degree from Gundam, but it is the right arm that is the most interesting. We've got a lot of different colors on this. We've got a jewel sticker for in the palm of the hand. Like I mentioned, we do have some gold fingers. These build up very, very simply and effectively, but the gold definitely could do with being painted. Otherwise, this thing does look phenomenal. Finally, we do have those big energy wings. We've got included plastic segments for using with these. And overall, the whole build, like I said, it's simple, effective, and the finished product looks, well, let's check it out and see. So when it does come to the looks, visually the high-grade Guren type 08 element SEITEN looks absolutely astounding. Like I mentioned, this is a little larger than I expected it to be, but what really catches your eyes straight away is just the different variations of plastic that's on it, and the fact that it looks outright badass with that massive hold on while I read it off the side of the box. Freely movable wire-guided radiation propulsion right arm. On the whole, this looks incredible. So many different textures of plastic, from shiny to clear to matte to some metallic. Like I mentioned, the only real letdown here is the gold, which to some might actually be passable. The orange is super glossy, the red is super glossy, the maroon is matte, the grey is matte. Overall, this looks incredible. The giant arm right here is definitely one of the aspects that steals the show entirely. The massive size of it, fantastic articulation, and the extremely very nice use of a jewel sticker on the palm of the hand for that blasty area. Extremely nicely pulled off. I did notice that the glossy red plastic was marking quite a bit while I was putting it together, but on the actual finished build, it's hard to find these marks at all. They're all mainly towards the back or between parts that connect together, so once again, Bandai has been very tactical about where it has placed the nubs on the kit, so even if you're not that adept at cutting them out cleanly, it's still going to be hidden to some degree. When it does come to the stickers in here, first off, we've just got that jewel sticker for using on the hand. That is what it looked like on the thing. We saw it on the hand. It looks great. And these are the actual color correcting stickers that we get in here. They're all foils for the most part, so that means no real colors being corrected. So first off, number 1 right there, the gold one. The largest 2 down there, that is 5 and 6. Those are just inside of these green sections in the chest, and they just serve to throw the light back out again and give those greens some extra oomph. And speaking of greens, it is those greens right there, number 4, which I feel are the worst sticker out of the bunch. Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, and these are for using on the weapons. These weapons, or should I say this weapon, the 2 variants of it, is the Mazer Vibration Sword. These go on that little gem section on the handle. They don't rest that great, they don't look that great, so as well as some gold paint on this kit, I recommend a little bit of metallic green too. So the one thing that really struck me about this kit is just how big it actually is. There it is side by side with a high grade kit, which is the high grade Gundam Aerial, and there it is side by side with a master grade, which is the RX-78-2 Origin version. And this is somewhere in between the two, so this is a large high grade, and we haven't even popped the wings on it just yet. And speaking of size comparisons, I'm going to hold out until I get these wings on. Remember that big old metal build figure that I took a look at not that long ago, which was absolutely and utterly awesome? I thought that would dwarf this kit. I thought this kit would be small. Not necessarily. But anyway, first off, let's check out what it comes with. Jumping into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes with this version of the high-grade Guren, and you get quite a lot in here. First off, that big old pair of energy wings, as well as the backpack part that attaches on, hold on the wings. We've got this segment right here, which is an accessory part for using with the big old blasty hand. For over on the other arm, we do have one alternate hand. This is a holding hand for using the holding weapons. And then on top of that, we've got 3 wires for using with the kind of semi-remote middle range weapons. And finally, then we've got 2 versions of the MVS. One is sheathed, one is unsheathed, but hey, let's check them all out. So first up, we're going to be taking a look at the energy wings, and what we need to attach on first is this little unit right here. I will mention we do have a little bit of a section that you can remove for the missile pod that is inside of it. This is not color accurate. It should be in a kind of gray or a gunmetal, but here it is not colored. So that is something you will have to paint yourself, but not a big deal when it is closed up. This just attaches onto the back super simply, slides on perfectly, holds on great, and that is what it looks like attached. Now we've got the wings folded up on this backpack segment, adding a lot of pointy, big, extra mass to the back of the Guren. Next up then in here, we've got the actual energy wings themselves. Now, these are 2-sided, so we've got one side that is kind of diffuse like this, and one side that is a little bit shiny, which is actually making me wonder if I have them on the right side or not right now. How I actually didn't notice this until this point is beyond me, and the fact that I actually got, diffuse and diffuse, shiny and shiny, diffuse and diffuse, and shiny on the exact same sides is a blessing in of itself. I could have royally kind of made that half and half on both, so that's not so bad. So it seems the manual doesn't actually say much about that, thankfully, but when it comes to the articulation, we've got down and up at this point right here, as well as some rotation like this right here. So from that point, it gets stuck there, but it seems to go all the way beyond there if you ever want to actually do that for some reason. Down here, it's a flappy action as well as rotation. And then finally, closest to the body, what we'll be having is a point of pivot like so. Getting these wings attached is simply just pop off this section here, which is the wings when they are folded away, and then you just pop them in via a peg into a hole. Super simple. They all hold on perfectly. Funnily enough, at least with one wing on, Guren can stand up fine, for from here on out, we will need an action base, not included. So the stand I tend to use with my high-grade kits is Good Smile Company's Simple Stand. I love it. It is brilliant, but I will mention that the stand adapter segment in this kit is fairly high up. It's on the underside of the cockpit / energy wing zone, so that does mean when you actually attach in the action base or the stand like so and then pop it down, it doesn't have a whole lot of space between it and the ground, but it is enough to get some nice flight poses. So now that those energy wings are finally on, it's time to get it into a little bit of a pose that I have something else in the exact same pose, and it's time to compare it to that which I'm speaking. That, of course, is the metal build dragon scale version of this mech right here, the Guren SEITEN. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's huge. It's ridiculously huge, but at the same time, it isn't necessarily anime accurate. The dragon scale moniker, I think, means that they've kind of really jazzed up the design to make it look cool and over the top. So if you're looking for something a little accurate and a little on the cheaper side, this kit will definitely do the job for you. If you don't like building kits and you want something over the top, then the metal build is what you'd be looking for. But I'm actually surprised. They're definitely not around the same size at all, but I did expect the model kit to be a whole damn sight smaller. I am impressed. So the energy wings can also be used for defense as well. This is very, very simple, and all you have to do is close down the wings over Guren just like so. It's super simple to do and looks fantastic. Once again, I'm not sure if it's meant to be shiny side out or shiny side in, but what I've got right here is shiny side out. So now it's about time to check out what really makes the Guren, and I don't mean the red color. What I mean is that absolutely colossal right arm. This can do quite a bit. First off, it has a lot of articulation, which allows it to make sure I can get into that nice blasting position. All the fingers are ball jointed, so they can all be moved. There is no bend in the middle of them, it's just ball joints at the base of each of the fingers and thumbs. We do have that jewel sticker in the middle of the hand, which looks great, and this can be extended just by folding everything out just like so for that reach that only the Guren has. Next up, we do have some expansion parts for using with this particular arm. This is super simple to attach. You just slide off the cuff section of the forearm, pop this on instead, pop the hand back on, and this is what you get, looking ridiculously fantastic yet again. Nice, big, and awesome. So we'll mention not everything about this arm right here sadly is perfect. The worst aspect is Bandai kind of cheaped out a little bit on the joint up here, so if you move it at all, it starts to kind of fall off like this, which is really, well, it's just plain lousy. Basically, it just falls off really easy because of this kind of lazy joint design. Instead of having a full hole here, it's kind of like a series of half holes, and if it falls off from the very last bit that's actually keeping it from being wiggly, 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 which it does quite often, it will kind of just fall off. So while you're actually posing this all of the time, especially with the amount of leverage you have with a big old arm like this, it is, well, it's easy to pull it off and make that part collapse right there. So that's pretty much it for the giant arm. When it comes to this one right here, we do have some options as well. The first of which being the hand. So the hand I've had on the whole time is this widespread one. This is a very nice pose, by the way. It's very subtle, it's very nicely posed, and in a way it's kind of elegant, not unlike the design of the mech itself. The other option that we have in here is the holding hand. So this is pretty much the same hand, just the holding variant, and there is only one real weapon for holding onto. That being this right here, the MVS. So this is cast in the red plastic and the gray plastic, but as you can see, the sticker segment right here is required if you want that section to be in the metallic green, which doesn't look the greatest. Attaching this into the holding hand, super simple. You just separate the holding hand in half, pop the handle of this into the back of the hand, sandwich on the rest of the hand like so, and pop that into the wrist. We'll mention we also do have a bit of a scabbard in here for using with that as well, with an extra handle too, so it means you don't actually have to swap the handle between the actual bladed MVS and the scabbarded version. So that means you can just pop this out, stick this around here on the butt flap just like so, and then have the weapon in the hand, looking pretty awesome like what you're seeing right here. This holds on perfectly and looks great. So the last of the accessories we have in here is 3 wires, one of which is for using once again with that big old arm, so we're moving back to that. To use this, all you have to do is pop off the arm at the elbow, pop the wire onto the upper arm, pop the wire onto the forearm, and you've got it pretty much like this right here. Now, I will mention you will need an additional action base to display this on to have it flying in air, because the wire definitely will not hold it up. The wire is posable, but it's not strong. So once you actually get it all attached together with a couple of action bases, you'll get something that looks a little something like this right here, and that is badass. So the last thing we have in here then is the slash harkens. These are usually stored up on the shoulders like so. These actually rotate on a little bit of a kind of cylinder segment where the shoulders attach onto the arm, so they can move quite readily whenever it is posed whatever way you want. There is a little bit of parts formation here. You just pop them off like this. Then you need to take off the bladed segments of the slash harkins, attach them onto the little bit that I had on the end of the wire here, and then the wire attaches on, pretty much similar to what we would have seen with the arm. We have 2 of these. They attach on well enough, but I do find that the wire is a little bit on the flimsy side, and they do kind of do what they want a little bit. If you did throw this up on your shelf in a pose, more than likely these will have drooped down after a little bit of time, but otherwise they do what they need to do. But you could probably replace that wire with something a little better. So finally onto the articulation, and one thing that's really strange about this kit is it's like so light, like ridiculously light. It is solid plastic on plastic build right here, but the plastic, I think it's the particular kind of glossy, semi-brittle, but doesn't seem to be a brick risk kind of plastic that just weighs next to nothing. It is super, super hollow. So throwing this into the usual pose, and as you'd expect with the Guren, this is a very unique kind of mecha right here, so you're not going to get the usual kind of humanoid poses per se. It does pull off the usual chest pose quite well, but there is quite a few limitations here. First off, this is a very limited kit in a lot of ways that it can kind of move, in certain ways. Also, if you look from the back, you do see into the joints quite a bit as well, which isn't the prettiest, but then again, that is from the back, so it's not that bad. However, one thing I'll definitely say about the Guren right here is it's not really the most, smooth posing experience around. It kind of has a lot of kind of funny parts. Like, for example, this upper arm segment right here is incredibly stiff just to rotate compared to other parts. But then we've got some nice things, like we've got a ball joint as well as the bend of the elbow here to get some nice kind of almost curvy poses out of it when you are getting this posed. The legs are also quite unique. For one, they do have those typical nightmare frame wheels back here, so those can just swing out like so, which is very nice. Spinning wheel, which is something I always appreciate. We do have a nice moving toe, which can go down and up, as well as rotate side to side, which is a nice touch. But not so much in regard, well, fuck that, that's quite a decent bit of pivot. But sometimes it feels like you're not getting that much. Sometimes some of the joints drop a little bit when you overextend them, but then again, not that much. On the whole, I do feel you do have to pay quite a bit of attention to each individual aspect of it while posing it, because it's not really as simple or as fluid as something like a Gundam kit. But yeah, in the end, you will get some cool poses out of this with what you have, and it definitely will pull off everything you want from the Guren. I guess the best way to put it is, it's a very atypical kind of posing experience. You get a lot out of it when you do the right things. For example, if you want to bend the knees, move out the wheel segments and you'll get a little bit more of a bend. Some parts don't really twist as well as others, and you really do have to pay a lot of attention to what is going on, and then you will get yourself some over-the-top poses. But anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this to me, when we're thinking high-grade Code Geass kits, is platinum tier. It is absolutely phenomenal, just like we would have seen with the Lancelot. Aesthetically, this is so beautiful looking. Get those wings on, get all the weapons on, it looks great. The big arm looks absolutely stunning, but I do recommend maybe painting the gold if you're not a big fan of that gloss injection gold. When it comes to the accessories, you get everything that you would want in here. Everything's pretty great besides the weak wires on the slash harkins, and honestly, who's going to be really posing it with those? You've got all that big arm stuff going on and those wings, so maybe not a priority. Lastly then, when it does come to the articulation, you do get a lot out of this, but it is very unusual and it can be a little bit difficult. But once you get used to actually posing it, you'll get some over-the-top, sharp, ridiculous poses out of this, especially up in the air where the Guren Type 08 Elements SEITEN should be. So like I mentioned, this is a premium Bandai exclusive kit, so if you do want one of your own, I'll throw a link down there in the description. You can get yours where I got mine, which is through BUYEE. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Mecha model kit reviews, and I'll see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, Org59061, and Van Fawn.